on Shalom TV. I'm Dr. Ruth Westheimer, and I was at a party the other night. It was to launch a new book about fashion, and so the room was filled with what are commonly described as the beautiful people. There were models and very tall professional basketball players. A woman was brought over to me to be introduced. She sat down next to me so we could take some pictures, and we talked for a bit. This young woman was truly gorgeous. And don't take my word for how stunning she is. She's so good looking that she's been featured in the Sport Illustrated swimsuit edition for a number of years. So we know there are thousands of men, maybe millions of them, who have spent quite a bit of time looking at those magazines, drooling over pictures of her. But she didn't come to the party with a date. And after we talked for a bit, she admitted that she can't find a man. You would think every single man across the country would be beating down her door. Certainly, a good many men must approach her. So I have to deduce that the reason she's still single is that maybe she's just too picky. Maybe she isn't looking for just any man to fall in love with, but rather is searching for a man with deep pockets who, after her modeling days are over, will continue to support her in the style she's become accustomed. I can't say for sure, because she didn't ask for my advice, and I never offer advice unless I'm asked. However, that doesn't stop me from analyzing people's stories that are presented to me. I mean gorgeous women without a man. Who could resist? But though she didn't ask for my help, I did tweet about her situation, telling my 73,000 followers that she was available. And since she retweeted my tweet, it showed that she was thankful to me for helping her to get the word out about her single status. Now, I want to tell you the story of another woman. This incident took place quite a few years ago, but it will help me to illustrate my point. She was a friend. Like the model, she also had problems finding a man. Unlike the model, she wasn't that good looking. She wasn't ugly, but she was quite overweight. One day, she asked me to make an appointment to see me in my office. I didn't know why, but as a friend, I had her come over. We talked for a bit, and finally, she told me what she wanted. When I heard her request, I nearly fell off my chair. She asked me to contact Jerry Seinfeld to arrange for her to have a date with him. First of all, while Jerry had been a guest on my television show, we weren't exactly good buddies. But even if we had been best friends, I would not have imposed on him in that way. At the time, he was probably one of the most eligible bachelors in the world. He could have his pick of any woman he wanted. It wasn't like he needed help finding dates. But more to the point, I also knew that if he had done me the favor of going out with this woman, they would have had one date, and that would have been that. He would never call her again. A big star like Jerry is expected to have a girlfriend who, if not drop-dead gorgeous, doesn't need to lose 75 pounds. The idea that after one date he'd fall madly in love with her was ludicrous. Clearly, this woman had been having fantasies about him for a very long time. So were many other young women, I'm sure, but she went overboard. She'd spent so much time fantasizing about a life as Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend that she'd lost track of reality. It's okay to have fantasies, but you have to know that they are only fantasies and not make the mistake of basing your happiness on them coming true. And equally important, you mustn't stop yourself from looking for a partner who is available while you waste time dreaming about someone who is far out of your reach. So here I've given you two extremes of single women. Both wanted a man, and both were having difficulties. One is gorgeous, and the other not so much. The lesson is that looks are the major issue when it comes to finding a partner. It's all about expectations. I'm not talking about settling. That's an ugly word. Being realistic isn't having to settle. For each and every person, there is a range of people who are suitable, and there are thousands upon thousands of people within that range for you to meet. Each person's range is different, and there are lots of factors that go into who belongs in your range. We have to be honest and admit that looks are one factor, but so are personality, intelligence, sense of humor, honesty, manners, culture. If you take one of those tests that the dating services give, there are pages of questions, so that shows you how many factors can come into play when deciding who might be right for you. And they are all important. Are they equally important? Probably not. But if someone has a low rating with regards to one factor, and your overall appearance is important, so let's say that a person is on the low side with regards to their appearance, that person just has to make sure that they push themselves as high as possible on the other scales. Now, let me say that I speak from experience. As you may know, I'm only 4'7". Being too short or too tall makes it harder to find a partner. That's why when I was younger, I thought I'd never find a man. So how did I manage to marry 3 times? Believe me, the reason wasn't that I wore high heels. The reason is that I knew that I had to make up in personality what I lacked in height. I couldn't afford to be a shrinking violet, or I would have disappeared altogether. If men enjoyed my company, then I had a chance to win their heart. On the one hand, how your looks factor into the equation is simple. Either you have them or you don't. You can make the best of what you have. That's true. But there's still only so much you can do. Developing your personality or your intellect or your sense of humor is a lot harder. It takes quite an effort. But unlike looks, it's also possible to develop these abilities to a much higher level. No matter how hard I might have tried, I could never have been a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. And yet, little 4'7", me, was once on the cover of People magazine. So if you concentrate on what's possible, you can go a long way. And remember, there are multiple factors that can make up for looks. You have heard the saying that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. That's just one. Tickle his funny bone, stroke his ego, pique his sense of curiosity, listen to his problems, comfort his sorrows, play along with his fantasies. All these are keys to getting him to open his heart to you. But my main point in bringing up these 2 women is not to give a lesson on how to get a man. There have been plenty of books written about that. Here I want to stress what women do to prevent themselves from getting a man. Sabotage is too strong a word in some cases, though not all. But many women make the mistake of setting their sights on what is not important rather than what is. Being on a desert island with a partner is a common fantasy. It may be with your partner or someone else, like a movie star or your next-door neighbor. Why is this fantasy so common? On that island you have the sun, the surf, and most of all, the privacy to create an ideal love nest. But let me offer you another use for the desert island fantasy. Try using the privacy it offers in your fantasies as a place to escape from what everybody else thinks. Let me explain. While you'd probably enjoy walking into your high school reunion on the arm of someone who looked great, would you want to be on a desert island with this person for a month if they were boring or egotistical or ill-mannered? What good would their looks do if after 2 days you hated each other? So what I'm suggesting is that if you meet someone and get to know them a bit, and you are undecided about whether or not you'd want to date that person, picture yourself on that desert island. Not just rolling in the surf together, but actually spending a month together with no distractions like TV or restaurant dinners. In such a setting, the other person's appearance would quickly grow unimportant. So what other qualities about this person might make you regret seeing that ship on the horizon that was finally coming to rescue you? Those long-lasting and vital qualities are the ones to see in a potential partner. Don't allow yourself to become blinded by a person's looks or wealth or fame. If you look at the gossip pages, you'll see how often the couples made up of the rich and the famous fall apart. I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad to be rich, famous, and beautiful. I look up at the tall models I see at parties and wish that I could have only 1 or 2 of their extra inches. But if you are looking for a lifelong partner, someone with whom you want to raise a family and share true happiness for decades, then you have to look beyond what's on the surface. Concentrate on what really matters, not the size of their fortune or how famous they are. Then you'll be able to find someone who will offer you the most valuable treasures: companionship, good conversation, and most importantly, love. For Shalom TV, I'm Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Talk to you again next time.